Panorama photography is a very useful technique to get a higher resolution than regular photos, which is handy for large prints, to post interactive photos on social media, where the viewer can move inside the image, or to get a surreal, distorted, creative, two-dimensional view of a scene. A drone is an ideal tool for panorama photography, as with a point of view up in the sky, there will be no obstacles, even in the case of 360-degree panos. There are 3 mistakes to avoid when shooting a panorama. The stitching software needs many reference points to align the images properly, therefore it is better to avoid scenes with a significant portion taken by uniform elements, like water or the sky. In this case, the stitching failed because most of the image was taken by the sea. With sphere panos, the sun will always be in the shot, causing extreme dynamic range. It is very hard to expose correctly under these conditions. Much better to choose a day when the sun is covered by clouds, or to shoot around sunset or sunrise to reduce the dynamic range, so that we can avoid burning the highlights and at the same time recover the shadows. The use of polarizing filters is to be avoided, as they react differently according to the angle of light, creating severe banding in the sky. I also avoid using ND filters, just in case. We access Panorama Mode via the Photo Video button above the shutter, on the right part of the menu, through the icon at the bottom. The menu to the left will display 4 icons for the different pano modes: sphere, 180 degrees, wide angle and vertical. Note that we can only access the panorama function when the drone is flying. We can then choose whether we want to keep each individual photo in either RAW or JPEG format. In previous models, I would always use RAW files and then use other programs to stitch the image together into a panorama. The RAW photos tend to have a strong vignette that can be easily fixed for individual photos. But when putting together for a pano, some color banding may appear in the sky. The JPEG images have constantly improved in recent DJI models, and in Air 3 they are excellent, so I have decided to use JPEGs. DJI Fly app will automatically stitch a JPEG panorama. We can then choose the exposure mode. If we click on the button at the lower right of the screen, we toggle between auto exposure and manual. I always shoot photos and videos in manual mode, but in the case of panorama, auto exposure is handy, as it reduces the difference in luminosity between the highlight and the shadows. The Air 3 in auto exposure works so well that I have used it for all the images in this video. It has a very slight tendency to overexpose, although not as pronounced as the Mini 3 Pro. Therefore, I prefer to set the EV to a slightly negative value of minus 0.3 or minus 0.7. In the camera tab of the settings, we can set the white balance. I strongly recommend using manual white balance to avoid unwanted shift of colors. In sphere mode, the Air 3 shoots 33 photos in rapid succession. Practically a 360-degree view, more than the 26 images taken by the Mini 3 Pro. I noticed that the Air 3 takes advantage of the upward tilt of the gimbal to cover more of the upper part of the sky. 180-degree mode shoots 21 photos, 3 RAW or 7 photos each. In this mode, it is possible to avoid the sun in the shot by keeping it at the back of the camera. In wide-angle mode, 9 photos are taken, 3 rows and 3 columns. Vertical consists of a single column of 3 photos. While shooting the images, the drone will rotate and tilt to optimize the amount of overlap between each shot. Under the shutter icon, an indicator will show the progression of the process in percentage. After having shot all the photos, it will still be busy for a few seconds, as the app is stitching the automated JPEG panorama. The files will be saved on a memory disk. Inside a folder DCIM, there will be 2 different subfolders. One named Panorama containing a file for each panorama. Each of the files will contain the individual RAW and JPEG file if this option is selected. Another folder named DJI with a number will contain the auto-generated files. With previous model, I have never taken the auto-generated JPEG file seriously, but this functionality has massively improved, to the point that I have used it for all the panoramas in this video. The quality is outstanding and makes the whole process much faster. You can find JPEG file that you can download in my blog, vicvideopic.com. The blog post will be ready the day after I publish this video. I will add the link in the description below. In sphere panos, as usual, the top of the sky is missing and the software extrapolates a fake one. But the Air 3 takes advantage of the extra tilt upwards of the gimbal to reduce the size of the missing sky. Sadly, the panorama functionality in the Air 3 only works when the wide-angle lens is selected. But we can take advantage of the 3 times zoom factor of the 70mm lens for shooting a manual panorama. Here is how we do it. Before starting the shooting, make sure to have the rule of thirds overlay by going to the camera tab of the settings. To stitch the image properly, 2 adjacent photos must overlap by more than 1/3 and no more than 2/3. Let's say we want a panel made of 3 rows of 6 photos each. We start with the left edge of the middle row. We frame the shot, making sure we have a reference point matching the left line of the grid. After hitting the shutter, we pan to the right until the reference point is just outside the left edge. We make sure we have another reference point on the left line and continue this way for the 6 photos forming the middle row. After shooting the last photo of the middle row, we take a reference point on the bottom edge of the image and tilt the camera down until the point is just above the lower line of the rule of thirds. We can now take the first image to the right of the bottom row. We do the opposite of what we did in the first row. We take a reference point on the left edge of the frame, take the first shot, and then pan to the left until the point is beyond the first vertical line. At the end of the bottom row, we take a reference point below the first vertical line, tilt the camera up until the point is just outside the bottom of the frame, and we can now take the 6 photos of the top row in the same way we did before. This is the result. With Air 3 it is also possible to shoot panoramas in 48 megapixel mode. Unlike the Mini 3 Pro, the 48 megapixel mode in the Air 3 is not in the photo menu, but it can be selected in the camera tab of the settings. When selecting panorama in the menu to the right, the images will be taken in the regular 12 megapixel mode, regardless of the mode chosen in the setting. So, to get a panorama with 48 megapixel images, we need to choose 48 megapixel mode in the settings and then shoot the photo manually, the same process as for the one taken with the telephoto lens. Here you can see the result of simple vertical panoramas in 48 megapixel mode, shot manually with 3 vertical images and stitched together using on one photo raw. Click on this link to watch my video about photography with the Air 3. And don't forget to hit the like button if you find this video interesting. Thank you.